Have you ever met the connector? Well, he ponders, he helps, he creates, he writes, he speaks. He basically connects people and brings them together. I speak about Paul Solano of PS and All Marketing Group. At psandallmarketinggroup.com, you will receive an assembled group of Paul's contacts and connections that cross into many sectors of life. Please contact Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com if you are in the market for a wide array of services. Again, please contact The Connector, Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com with any questions. And now, here's Paul Solano, the host of Paul Ponders.
Welcome to Paul Ponders. My name is Paul Solano of PS and All Marketing Group, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com. Thank you for joining me for my foray into podcasting. It is great to be collaborating with my friend and associate Chalonzo Amos of PodPro Entertainment to bring you some fun, exciting, and informative podcasts. For many years, I've been referred to as the Connector, or in Greater Boston circles as the Connector. With psandallmarketinggroup.com, I've created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please sit back and relax and listen to today's podcast. If you are driving or operating heavy machinery and just listening, then please just listen and stay focused on your task at hand. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy my ponderings. Let #Paul Ponders begin.
Greetings, everyone. How is everyone doing? Welcome to another episode of #Paul Ponders. Another great episode produced by Techie Talonzo in the studio, behind the curtain, PodPro Entertainment, #PodPro Entertainment. I want to thank all of you for logging into paulponders.com, part of the PS and All Marketing Group, and it's working out really well. I know I say it all the time, but it is true. You know, when I'm at Pearl Street Station Restaurant or I'm at Stop and Shop or even walking through the streets, people are pulling over and saying, Paul, great podcast. You really are doing a great job with this, and we're logging in, and we look forward to your next podcast. And if we hark back to episode number 15, where we had the craft beer guru, Bill Hall, on, it was a great episode. It really was. In this episode, before I give our first sponsor, our real first sponsor, some credit for sponsoring this episode, you're going to be really intrigued with this episode. So we'll keep you in suspense for a few minutes here, maybe a minute or so. But I just want to thank you again for subscribing. But I want to thank our first sponsor, Riverworks Credit Union, with branches in Lynn, Dorchester, and Linfield. They just opened up a new branch a few months ago at 24 Broadway, Route 1 South in Linfield. And Riverworks Credit Union is a nonprofit financial institution owned by its membership and established in 1936, and MLS number 410564. They can be reached at 1-800-367-1207, or you could email them at members@riverworkscreditunion.com, actually members@rwcu.com. And they are a member of the NCUA. They're an equal housing lender member, and they're part of the Massachusetts Credit Union, MSIC Share Insurance Corporation, where your savings are federally insured to at least $250,000 and backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. So give them a call again at 1-800-367-1207. You could call up U.S. Olympian hockey player Dave Jensen in the mortgage department. You could call up Jerry Dorr if you're looking for a home equity loan. It's really a great place. You call Paul Crowley. He's over there. So give a call, give a shout out over there. I even happen to know personally a business development person, and that be Paul Ponders. So I thank you again, Riverworks Credit Union, for being a sponsor. So as we look at this episode, as I reference episode number 15 with the crafty craft beer guru, Bill Hall, we are very pleased to have this episode, not only Bill Hall, but his business associate partner with this episode entitled Beers Over Boston. So Bill Hall and Allison Block, welcome to Paul Ponders.
Thank you for having me again.
Great to have you here. And Allison?
And thank you for having me. But I guess we can also say business partners and fiancés, because we actually just got engaged.
That is tremendous.
Sorry, I didn't know if you had seen that online or not, Paul. I didn't want to bury the lead, but yes, we have a new title in our relationship as well, as of last week.
That is awesome. Muzzle tough, as they say. That is great. There we go. I love it. That is great. Any plans for a date?
Next September, fingers crossed. Yeah. So a year from now, to keep this evergreen, a year from October 5th, 2023.
That is great. Awesome. Well, congratulations on that. Thank you for putting that late breaking news here on hashtag Paul Ponders. It's great. I love that. That's great. So Beers Over Boston, and I will say that, Bill, your episode number 15 with Paul Ponders was very well received, and we had alluded to the fact that maybe down the road in a future podcast, and I believe this is probably going to be episode number 22, 23, whatever, we just needed to have you back because you are so interesting, and I hear that Allison is also very interesting in what she knows about the craft brew market. Is that correct?
That's correct. She might actually be a little bit more interesting than I am right now. I just drive around and sell beer, but she has people flocking to her to talk about it, learn more, and yeah, she's pretty interesting. Is that right, Allison?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, Allison, take it away. Tell us about Beers Over Boston.
So Beers Over Boston is an online platform specifically on Instagram that Bill and I started back in the start of COVID. Bill, like most people in COVID times, was laid off from his job, but really still wanted to be involved in the beer community. And I wanted to help support that because I not only loved him, but I love beer as well. We started this Instagram account to kind of keep better connected with the industry and make new friends safely during the pandemic.
I see. How many followers do you have?
We are right around 13,000 right now.
Fabulous.
So it was really a great way. Like, it just took off within the first year. I think because of Bill's, connections with the industry, my love of beer and making friends, it just became very infectious. We were able to visit, travel places all over the country, all over the world, make new friends. Those friendships turned into job opportunities, from Bill starting his own later down the road sales, distribution, and consulting business for local breweries, but also me being able to pivot in my career and start using my social media skills to become a social media consultant for local breweries as well, in addition to keeping my day job, which is in finance.
That's great. That is great. So what exactly do you promote? Are you promoting specific products, or are you promoting events? What are you doing?
We do a little of it all. Our first rule, though, is we only support and promote brands that we authentically love ourselves. That does mean that we do say no to people. We don't do bad reviews. We don't do anything negative. Just because we don't like something doesn't mean they should get a negative review. It's still someone's hard work. Whether or not we like it, we just might not post about it on Beers Over Boston. But we primarily focus on local brands that we either have very good relationships with or organically find in the wild, and just want to love, support, and highlight them in difficult times when people need that support and extra voice.
Yeah, and to add to that, a lot of it started once it was safe to go back to breweries and to work with people. We were brought in to do, quote, collab brews or do brew days with breweries. and kind of give a behind the scenes show of what the brewing was like and kind of the fun vistas that you could see at lots of different amazing local breweries. And that really launched us off to focus showcasing the people behind the beer and the community that we wanted to build.
I see. Now, do you go in and do you offer tours of local breweries? How does that work?
So that's not something that we generally are able to do, just because most breweries, I would say 99.9%, don't want random people just stomping through their breweries. I do work as a tour guide on the side, but that's something wildly different. What we have done in the past, though, is organize either influencer meetups or events for friends, families, and neighboring people to come in and kind of peek behind the curtain with the help of the brewers and the people that actually work at the brewery. We let them handle walking people through. Is that about right, Allison?
Yeah, I mean, we, just to continue to highlight, we will document our journeys, whether it be on a brew day or a visit or an event. And then we highlight it on Instagram as well as other social media channels. But we also have partnered with breweries to offer like very exclusive experiences, whether it be like tickets to a festival that sold out or a private tour with them and a few guests. So like they get their own behind the scenes curtain that we are able to do fairly regularly. So we spread the love.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. Now, is there a membership fee involved with this?
No, it's completely free. We do this completely with no charge. We are fortunate where some businesses have supported us monetarily in our endeavors, but for the most part, we just are doing this out of our own passion and interest for the industry, as well as local businesses that we want to support. I've now been fortunate enough where companies have hired me, but we try to keep Beers Over Boston free of charge so that it keeps its authentic voice.
For the most part, we don't try to exploit anybody into reviews, but, if a restaurant says, hey, come on in, we're going to give you X amount of money towards a bill to try our food and, post about it, we'll go in and try the food and enjoy it. And if we love it, we'll absolutely post about it. It's one of those things that we always tell people, like, it is the ball's in our court. We're not obligated to do anything, but we'll absolutely, put you in the best light. We've had instances where we didn't really love something. So, like Allison said before, we don't put anybody on blast. We don't say anything bad, but we're not also, that kind of quote influencer who's asking for $1,000 for 100 retweets and, things like that. And we never really ask for anything free other than a chance to peek at something and take videos.
So if you went into, we'll say, Pearl Street Station restaurant and all, and I know I've known you for many years, Bill, and you've been and have always been just a true gentleman and a great knowledgeable beer rep. What would it encompass if you were to come into Pearl Street Restaurant Station or we'll say Exchange Street Bistro in Malden, where I was earlier before this podcast? Shout out to Jesse. But it's something that, how would you approach a situation like that?
Allison, do you want to fill this one? You're a little better with the video.
Typically, what we would do is we would just highlight our experience from walking up to the door to ordering to whatever we're enjoying, any interactions we have with anyone at the location to leaving. We try to keep it as authentic as possible. So if that means Bill doing like a silly face or I'm more camera shy, so me being like blushing and embarrassed, like that, we just keep it true and we just try to make it short because, as we know, most people don't have a long attention span. So we keep it condensed and highlight. But then what we also try to do is if there's anything special that happens when we're visiting anywhere, like a funny moment or like a really amazing beer or amazing food dish, we will save that and reshare that at a later date to continue the engagement and interest that our followers have. So that way it's still fresh in their mind, 1, 3, 4 months down the road.
Yeah, it's just a lot of short, fun little videos. A lot of times if bartenders are happy and fine with us taking a video of them pouring a beer and, showing that big, beautiful, frothy head on a freshly poured beer, to maybe even taking a peek in the kitchen, chatting up one of the chefs, watching them flip some food and flambe, preparing food, all the little touches that, people kind of don't think about in their everyday visits. They maybe might take for granted until they're flipping along Instagram, they're flipping along TikTok and stories, and they see this really amazing, flip of veggies and a pour of a beer. They're seeing a host greeting them as you walk in the door. It kind of adds like this nice slice of life touch. And as Allison said, we take a bunch of little videos, splice them up in different ways, some lengths for Instagram, some lengths for TikTok, those little 5 seconds for the millennials. Oh, wait, I'm a millennial. I mean, Zennials and Gen Z, I should say. And then we just kind of mix them and match them and make sure that you have plenty of great material to work with going forward, so that not only are we sharing it, but you as a company can take that and use that promotion for yourself as well.
I see. So are you running special events?
We do. Allison's more the special event person, if you want to talk about that.
So it varies. We work with whatever the business is, what they're looking to do, whether it's to highlight a special beer release or to get more people in the door and introduced to the product, to the brewery. A lot of times we partner with a brewery and we've actually made a beer with them. In return for that, we will host a special event and we'll invite our friends that also are beer lovers, as well as our friends and colleagues just from, anywhere in the neighborhood. So that way they could potentially retain those individuals as repeat customers. And then we'll also, of course, promote it on our page. So then it has an even more wide range of engagement and interest. And hopefully that returns customers to them as well.
And Allison's a little too humble to mention it, so I'll cheerlead for her. But she is also on the Leadership Council for Pink Boots Society, Massachusetts. Pink Boots Society is an organization of women in the fermentation arts, whether that is beer, wine, spirits, to kind of help promote, fundraise, and raise awareness of women in the industry. She's, within a couple of years now on the Leadership Council, works with them to help promote and host big events, as well works with a fun little organization called the Beer Babes Family. It's actually women from all over the country and, beyond. There's some people, a lot of people actually in Canada and from other countries. And just recently, Allison spearheaded the second brew day for the Beer Babes Family at Distraction Brewing Company, where people came from literally all over the country to come in and brew some beer for this organization.
Yeah, and I would just like to note for Pink Boots, it's actually women and non-binary individuals in the fermentation industry with the focus of continued education and networking in a male-dominated industry, so to speak, get them a leg up in the industry. And with Beer Babes, like Bill said, it's an online group that is an international group. A majority of the women are in Canada, but they're also, in Europe, all over the United States. I've been a member of both organizations for a little over 2 years. And I'm, like Bill said, on the leadership board. I'm the finance liaison for the Massachusetts chapter, as well as an ambassador for the Beer Babes family, which is a newly formed program that they've installed to get the word out.
You have really great networking outreach skills, and that's remarkable. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, and I won't go into even what I do during my day job, because there's even more with that. But it's all stuff that I am personally passionate about. So I'm happy to be busy 7 days a week, because I love everything that I do and I wouldn't choose not to do any of what I'm doing.
That's tremendous. Now, do you have a Facebook presence? I know you've mentioned Instagram and TikTok, but do you have a Facebook page?
Yeah, we do. We find it we don't get as much traction with it. Same with TikTok, but we do have it. We just have it set up where anything we post on Instagram cross feeds into Facebook, but we'll also share a lot of events. I find more engagement on my personal page, And that's where I'm connected to a lot of my industry friends. And so I'll share stuff for Pink Boots a lot of times. And that's the way that we've been able to get people to attend our events.
For the style engagement that we do, we have the Facebook, but it's really just like friends of ours and some breweries and industry people that follow it. It's really the Instagram is where we are the heavy hitters. That's where we make our bread.
Yeah, and I would say that's for us as like a quote unquote influencer. But for all the breweries that I work for, they have an extremely heavy presence in Facebook. So that is where I have to be diligent and cross promote everything, specifically events and new releases, because that's the majority of where their tickets are sold and information of that nature is communicated out.
So are people able to just buy tickets to an event directly through your site?
Typically it's hosted by whatever business that we're running the event for. A lot of the events that we do are free, so there is no charge. But if it's a ticketed event, it would be through whoever's hosting the event. And normally it's something they do it through like Eventbrite, for instance. Since we're not really looking to make money off of it, we try to keep things free. So that way everyone can attend.
Yeah. A lot of times the ticketing, quote unquote, is just to get a head count, an idea of how many people are going to be there. You'll always have walk-ins for our comedy nights and open mics, things like that. But for the most part, that's just to see RSVPs and kind of have something to show the breweries like, hey, this many people said they were interested. So let's make sure we're putting some aggregation and some promotion a little bit more into this product, quote, product, events and whatnot.
Do you maybe link up with Restaurant Week in Boston or any other events?
We have, in the past, reached out to organizations for events, specifically for like Oktoberfests or beer festivals. Those tend to be really well for us. We actually have a side little gig working. We make candles out of upcycled craft beer cans. So we're in a lot of farmers markets, art markets, brewers markets, things like that. But when it comes to, the way we promote things like Restaurant Week, they want ticket sales. And they're going to get those anyways. So we tend to find that smaller new restaurants that are opening, new bars that are opening, or new, food hall markets, they reach out to us to have us promote and kind of help get the word out. And also what we'll do is grab one or two other, quote, influencer, I hate the word influencer, but, influencer friends to come with us. That way we can build a whole bunch of material. But yeah, for the most part, we've been offered events and then had things kind of pulled out from underneath us from those, larger organizations like Restaurant Week. A lot of times they just kind of can't get their stuff together towards the end. But I think Allison could probably speak a little better to that.
I think you covered it well. We tend to focus more. We don't really focus on those types of events only because it's hard to quantify like what the business necessarily would get out of it versus, oh, we want to visit your establishment and show it to our followers. And hopefully that means people come and visit. We also, a lot of times, because we have followers all over the world, people reach out to us and will ask us for recommendations. So that's more of the way we can promote versus like a, a semi-annual, annual event, like a dine out. We do work with certain organizations for their reoccurring festivals. So that's a way that we'll help promote. And in that regard, we'll do like a giveaway and then we'll kind of promote the event leading up to it for ticket sales. And
really quick, what's the coolest organization you think that continues to ask us for help?
And so I was continuing that, but please. And then we'll be at the event and highlight it. And what Bill's alluding to is we work with the Red Sox organization. And so that's the big one that we do. We've worked with them for the past 2 years. We help promote specifically their food and alcohol events that they have throughout the season. So we typically do, there's a beer fest that they do in September. So we helped with that, helped curate the beer that they've served, and also like everyone who buys the tickets gets keepsake, and we helped with that, picking that item out. They did like a tequila and tacos festival. We helped with that. For burgers and bourbon, we helped with that. And I'm sure next year for the next season, they'll have even more as well as those events again. We fell into it. I'm a huge Red Sox fan. Bill grew up here, so he's a Red Sox fan. And it's someone that I had just reached out to randomly that I knew because I buy tickets a lot every season, and he was my contact. And now we get boxes of bobbleheads sent to us and tickets to games. And I was able earlier this year to surprise Bill with like 20 of his closest friends to a Red Sox game for his birthday. And he kept saying, "How did you get all these tickets?" Well, we know someone. So it worked out well.
That's great. That is a tremendous partnership. It really is. And the Red Sox are a great organization to work with. And we recently had Mr. Tom DiBenedetto, a minority owner of the Boston Red Sox, on as one of our guests. He recently received an award from the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame for his work as a minority owner of the Boston Red Sox, and also the owner or chairman of the board of a soccer team, a football club in Italy. So anyways, but he's a great guy as well, so I'll have to put the two of you together maybe one day down the road. You never know. It's quite Paul Ponders hashtag Paul Ponders strikes again.
I never write anything off. Let me tell you, I'm sure you could move mountains.
There we go. Thank you. Yes, we can. We try our best. I was doing some research on your beers over Boston, and I read a fun article in Cotton Southie, which I love to read. It's a great blog, great publication also. What do you think about the South Boston market? What's that like?
Ooh, for beer sales, what are we talking there? If you're a top 10 brand like Lawson's and Lone Pine and stuff like that, you do really well. And, obviously macro beer, but Southie is more about High Noons and White Claws right now than anything else. So it's a neighborhood I love going to, and I will routinely go and do sales. And we actually do events like, to steer it back towards Beers Over Boston, me and Allison went to Dumpling Daughter when they opened a new location on Broadway, and did a behind the scenes. She went into the kitchen and actually took footage of, them flipping the dumplings and getting the noodles ready, and kind of did like a whole nuts to bolts of how Dumpling Daughter works. And then we feasted, which was amazing. Beer, it could be a little tough over there. Allison, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I used to live in Southeast, so I it has a special place in my heart. We have made lots of wonderful friends that still live there, that own businesses there, so we help support them. I think with beer, they'll correctly explained it. There, it's harder for the little craft guys. But with that said, I feel like when we've had tastings or events where we've promoted our brands that we work for or just support, it's always been very positively received. Yeah. What does that mean? That's return customers, that they'll buy it forever. We don't know that, but in that moment, they're really excited, great feedback, want to know more, follow them on their social media, buy the 4-pack, the whatever it is. And in that moment, you have a new customer.
Yeah, I should say we've done tastings not only at liquor stores and bars, but at an amazing little shop in South Boston called In Good Company, which is more of gifts, fun, quirky style of a shop. Not alcohol related at all, but I've done tastings in the back of the store for people during what we call a sip and shop, and the enthusiasm is through the roof. I should also say I would be kicking myself if I didn't mention, talking about beer and South Boston, Castle Island Brewery is a phenomenal brewery. We're big fans and friends with the owner. I've known the owner of Castle Island since they pretty much opened and put out their first cases of beer. So that's a great spot to visit for sure for craft beer. Yeah, couldn't miss mentioning that.
And then head over to Sullivan's for a hot dog, right?
Go for a nice long walk to Sullivan's. Because unfortunately, Castle Island Brewing is not in Castle Island, but, that was where it was born.
Close enough.
There you go.
That's actually where my favorite hamburger is. It's like nothing fancy, but it's just my favorite hamburger. Sully's, like, just love it.
Absolutely. I haven't had one of those in a long time. That's great. Well, just to wind down as we look at your Instagram presence, what is your handle for Instagram?
So that is Beers Over Boston. Beers, plural, over Boston.
And how often do you post on Instagram? Is it every day, every hour, every week? How often?
So I primarily handle that because Bill is crazy busy and always on the road, and it's hard for him to manage social media. We try to post fresh content, so that would be either a reel or just a static post 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. But we try to do stories every day throughout the day. And then we're very diligent to check for comments or any messages because we get hit up a lot in our DMs, whether it be a question for a beer recommendation or, oh, I'm visiting Boston, or, oh, I saw you went to Chicago. Okay, what recommendations do you have for that? We get business opportunities that way. And so I'm trying to check it like on the hour, every hour.
That's tremendous. And Bill, do you have anything to add as we start to wind down about Beers Over Boston?
No, the only thing I would add is, if it sounds interesting, come check us out on Instagram, Beers Over Boston. Like a bunch of our photos, follow us, and, shoot us a message. Ask us questions about, where you should go for your favorite craft beer that night. Anything. We love the engagement. Yeah, and tell all your friends. Follow Beers Over Boston.
Spread the word. And Allison, do you have anything to add as we wind down?
Bill stole all my words, but if you're interested to learn more about Pink Boots or the Beer Babes family, please DM us again, on Instagram at Beers Over Boston. Love to answer any questions you might have.
That is awesome. Well, I want to thank both of you for joining us for this episode, and you've just shed so much light on what great things you're doing, great organizations and all, and maybe down the road we'll have maybe Beer Babes women on a future podcast of Paul Ponders. What do you think?
Yeah, I can definitely put you into contact with them. There's primarily 2 founders, one in, I believe Roxy's in Quebec, and then Rachel is in Arizona. Both are heavily involved in the beer industry. Rachel, for instance, is a beer educator, so she would be a lovely person to speak with. In fact, we are having our Beer Babes release at Distraction Brewing October 21st, which is a Saturday from 1 to 5 p.m. Rachel won't be able to make it, but Roxy's coming in from Canada. So should you want to attend, it's a free event. We're releasing an oaked porter. And there's a ton of women and men who are members of the organization that will be there in attendance. And that would be a great opportunity for you to at least meet Roxy.
Interesting. Well, I know I'm doing something with the Boston Bruins Foundation on October 21st, but that's more towards the evening. So we'll have to touch bases about that offline and see what we're able to do if we could just make an appearance over there and meet some more wonderful people. How does that sound?
Sounds great. And go Bruins.
Absolutely. Go Bruins, indeed. The season is starting. Yes, it is. It's coming up very, very soon. So again, Bill and Allison, thank you for being on this hashtag Paul Ponders episode. Again, thank you to Techie Talonzo in the studio. I want to thank everyone for rating us, subscribing to us, catching us on YouTube, iHeart, media, wherever you find your podcasts and all. But most importantly, everyone, please go to Instagram, find Beers Over Boston, and I know you will be wowed with some wonderful, wonderful stories, pictures, events, all good. So again, Bill and Allison, thank you, and have a great rest of your day. #Indeed. I trust that you have enjoyed Paul Ponders. Again, my name is Paul Solano of PS&All Marketing Group, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com to do some more pondering. Many thanks to my longtime collaborative friend and associate, Alonzo Amos of Pod Pro Entertainment, in bringing you our fun, exciting, informative podcasts. You rock, Techie Alonzo. With PS&All Marketing Group, I created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com with any questions. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paul Ponders. Follow us on Twitter at Paul Ponders Pod. Follow us on Instagram at Paul Ponders Podcast. Thank you again for listening to Paul Ponders, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website paulponders.com, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment, Paul Ponders lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. The new radio. Until we meet again, my friend, stay well. Indeed.